Why, hello, everybody. It is me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, on zero sleep, but in a brand new, massively overhauled Mars Studio B. I just want you to enjoy for 1 second here. Andrew, why don't we show the mess that we've been living in for the past week? This has been, hi guys. This is the studio. This is Mars Studio B behind the scenes. Yeah, we are right on the edge of the exclusion zone here. So we are 5 miles, 8 kilometers away from SpaceX, hopefully going to try and launch Starship SN11. You have to bear with me because there's a very good chance that I'm going to not be able to speak very well. Like when I say no sleep, I mean like almost no sleep at all, period. Like 2 hours of terrible sleep. We were up making cables all night, patching everything together still last minute. So thank you all for joining us. This is the inaugural real true stream with our new setup. It will only get substantially better from here. We just got kind of the bare bones going. We'll have a ton of awesome bells and whistles here once this thing's done. And we're going to be able to provide for you guys the ultimate quality video, audio, and lowest latency, highest quality for these Starship launches. That is the whole entire point of this studio space here. And of course, this is all thank you to all of you who have ever supported me in any capacity. Those Patreon supporters, YouTube members, we just put everything we can right back into what we're doing to try to bring you guys the highest quality everything we can. Now, we had a lot of things that we were not able to get done in time. And so I'm not saying that selfishly I hope it scrubs today. But, you know, maybe if it wouldn't happen to fly today, we would be able to get a few more things done for you guys, which will be amazing. And one of those things that we're excited to have is we do now, as a thank you to those people that have been supporting us, YouTube members and Patreon members, we do have an official, we have a 4-camera live stream that we can actually, that we have as a separate stream that's just, it's not hosted. It's just simply a 4 cameras going that will eventually just have ambient audio. So yeah, so check this out. This is a little preview of that. So we will have that be going as soon as we can, because you might, if you're a Patreon member on launch day, you might just see those cameras turning on because we're literally setting up still. So yeah, so I'm really excited to be able to hopefully provide you guys the best opportunity here to catch Starship launches, because this is history in the making, my friends. This is where it's at. This is South Texas is apparently just the future of humanity at this point. So thank you guys for your continued patience and support. And I'm extremely excited. If we see a launch today, I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know if I can handle it today, because my brain is beyond fried. And at the same time, I'm kind of loopy. So it might be kind of fun. At this point, it's just like absolute sleep deprivation. So thank you guys all so much for those of you that have supported, and it will just continue to get better and better from here, I promise. We're doing the SpaceX style. We're iterating. We're seeing what works, expanding from there. Just keep going, and pour it right back in. So hopefully you guys appreciate it, and hopefully everything works out well today on our inaugural stream. This is this is from scratch. So yeah. All right. So Commander Shortstop says in Discord, we should be taking a day off. I don't think that's an option. That is not an option. Days off, what are those? Yeah, we've got starships to capture. So I'm going to do something for you guys that I think most of you that have been here before will know what this is. We are going to show you guys a little launch preview, pre-launch preview of what we could expect to see today, what we hope to see today. So again, if you are new and you have, or not even if you're new, if you have any questions about upcoming rocket launches, definitely go to our website, everydayastronaut.com, click on pre-launch previews, and then you can see our upcoming launches. So of course today we are going to be checking out SN11. This is SpaceX's Starship SN11 medium altitude flight. So we're expecting to see this base. Well, here, I'll just read it through. The launch window for today's opportunity, at least locally here, is from 7 a.m. is when it opened, and will end at 7:30 p.m. So that's 12 UTC to 30 UTC tomorrow, March 27th. So it sounds like the static fire went well. They seem to be proceeding into arming the flight termination system. So we do expect to see a flight attempt today. So this is the mission name. There's not really a mission name for these. These are just flight tests. So we are seeing Starship prototype flight test. This is which launch provider is this? This is SpaceX. This is, of course, Elon Musk's rocket company called SpaceX. The customer who is paying for this is just simply a SpaceX test. There's no customer. There's nothing on board. There's no payloads. It's just simply, plain and simple, a test flight. The rocket for this is Starship SN11. So that is this is the 11th prototype type of vehicle in this family of rockets. So, Andrew, can we punch up the rocket still in screen 1? I feel like, never take our eyes off the rocket, right? The launch location, this one's taking out from test stand B. So we've only seen SN9 use test stand B before. This is test stand B at Boca Chica, Texas, United States. So there's pad A and B. These are both suborbital. In our screen right now on the left, you can see pad A, and that is where Starship, that's where 8 and 10 have taken off from. They're just kind of alternating at this point. So on the right, where Starship is on screen, that is pad B, suborbital flight pad B. So the payload mass, there is no payload. It's just simply Starship. Where are these satellites? There are, again, no satellites, no payloads, nothing. It's just simply a test flight. So they are going up and then coming down. Whatever is attached to the vehicle is going up 10 kilometers and then going down 10 kilometers. The rest of the crew has made it. Again, an all-nighter for everyone trying to set up remote cams and everything. Welcome, my friends. All right, so will they be attempting to recover the first stage? Yes. So this is interesting because remember, right now we're only actually seeing the upper stage of Starship. We are not yet seeing the first stage, the booster, which is super heavy. And super heavy is actually currently being integrated right now and stacked in the high bay. So this will only be basically the second stage that they're launching today. They go up to 10 kilometers, so about 35,000 feet. Then they're going to be doing that belly flop to tail down landing maneuver, just like we saw with SN8, SN9, and 10, but hopefully landing in one piece and living to tell about it. Where will the first stage land? This is going to be landing basically right next to the launch pad here, about 1,000 feet away, 360 meters away from the launch stand, so right next to it, basically on the test stand. Where are the fairings? There are no fairings on this vehicle, so are these fairings new? Again, there are no fairings, and eventually there will be integrated fairings, like an integrated payload bay. There will never be expendable fairings for the most part. There could be an expendable version someday, maybe-ish. This will be the first flight of SN11, the third flight of a Starship prototype to 10 kilometers, because SN8 went to about 12.5 kilometers. The sixth flight of a Starship prototype, including the 3 Starhopper hops. Well, really, there's only kind of 2. The first one is more of a static fire. Fourth flight of a Starship with a nose cone and aerodynamic flight surfaces. So, if you guys want to know anything else about this rocket, about what it's doing, why it exists, all of the questions you might have, you definitely want to check out our pre-launch previews. They will give you a lot of good things to learn about and a lot of great pictures now, thanks to Trevor Mallman, our good friend. And this article was written by Austin DeSisto, so thank you, Austin. Everyone say thank you to Austin in the chat. But there's also a little bit more, too, if you guys want to click on the... there is the, we have an article called The Definitive Guide to Starship. If you guys have more questions about Starship, read through this article or watch the video. We talk about Starship a lot. We can hopefully answer basically all the questions you might have about Starship. What fuel it runs on, how many engines, what those engines are, how big it is. All of the things you might want to know about Starship you can find at our Definitive Guide to Starship, which is also at everydayastronaut.com. All right, let's get ourselves back out to that rocket. So, of course, the hardest thing here today is going to be the weather, because if we take a look at the weather from where we are, again, only 5 miles away, 8 kilometers away, we don't have any visibility. Andrew, punch up a shot from where we're at. We have nothing. We have, absolutely nothing. Yes. So, if it stays like this, they will not be launching today. They will need some kind of visibility for FAA clearances and rules. So, yeah, hopefully it clears up a little bit, but they are still proceeding with today's test flight, which, based on what we think, it looks like there's still people on the pad, so we're at least an hour away or so at best. So we just kind of put a temporary clock up. We have no idea. So there you go. All right. Yeah, currently they're working on it. So you might see people saying the FTS, the Flight Termination System. That is what they are currently working on. So Let's get to a couple of your guys' super chats. We have a whole bunch of members. Also, we might not quite be ready for super chats. Is that right? Okay. Sorry, again, setting this up like as we speak. So let's answer a few more questions, though, just in general. So for those of you that are happening to be watching right now, if this is your first time and you're like, what the heck are we looking at? What you are seeing right there is that is a huge rocket. It is made out of stainless steel. It will eventually, when it's stacked on top of the booster, this will be the largest rocket to ever fly, largest, heaviest, most powerful rocket to ever fly. What we're seeing, though, is just the upper stage called Starship. It's 9 meters wide, so 30 feet wide, about 50 meters tall, so 165 feet tall. It is extremely big. You know, when you see this, you can hardly even see the little crew lift there with people out on it. There's only you can barely see the people. You can just see these little tiny ant specks there. That helps give you a sense of perspective for just how massive this vehicle is. So, yeah, it is huge. It weighs around 100 metric tons, so like empty with no fuel on it. It weighs about 100 metric tons or so, so about 220,000 pounds or so, which is just plain bonkers. So, yeah, that's obviously pretty exciting to see these things fly. And, of course, as you guys might know, they run on SpaceX's Raptor engines. That's the world's most advanced rocket engine, really with no competition there when it's because it is the world's first flying and operational full-flow stage combustion cycle Raptor rocket engine. It runs on methane or methalox, so methane and liquid oxygen, liquid methane and liquid oxygen. And if this thing makes it to orbit first before any other, this could be the first rocket to ever reach orbit with a full-flow engine, but also could be the first rocket to ever reach orbit using methalox. So that's actually really, really exciting. So, yeah, we will see. By the way, yeah, as far as weather goes, it might clear up a little bit here. It seems to be the ceiling is lifting, and if the ceiling does lift, we will have a fun little thing for you guys too as well. So we have a lot of members. I'm going to see if our super chat is working yet. It is. It's a little big. We'll work on it. We'll fix it. Thank you for those of you again that are supporting what we do here. I promise, like I always say, we are working on making this as good as possible, trying to bring you guys the highest quality video, lowest latency video we can. We're getting to air from our pixels to your live stream ingested on YouTube is as quickly as possible. We are only encoding once in our streams. So that's why we're hardwiring everything. Everything is on a hardwire or a direct line of sight with radio frequencies. So we don't have any in the cloud encoding. We are doing things quite literally the way SpaceX is doing things. We are trying to provide as good of coverage as SpaceX is. That's our goal. Now, I know you're going to be going, you'll never be able to do as good of coverage as SpaceX because they have, well, you know, rockets on the cameras. But I promise we are trying to act. That is our goal. That is our... at least what we can share publicly, because SpaceX has cameras everywhere and some of the obviously the best views, but they don't always get to share them. So that's our goal. So there we go. Thank you so much to all of our members. Really, it makes the all of the things run here. Literally now is turning on lights in the studio. So thank you very, very much. Happy Hacking Video Blog asks, when boom? So of course, serial number 8, serial number 9, serial number 10 have all ended in failures. Well, not failures, explosions. Because really, again, this is a test campaign. They're really just looking to make milestones at this point. They're looking to see what happens with the vehicle. And quite frankly, this vehicle, it's a prototype. Failures are okay. Elon has said many times over, you know, it's only a failure if you don't learn anything from it or something along those lines. Basically saying, like, it's okay to fail just as long as you get valuable data from it, as long as you learned and are able to iterate from that and make a better vehicle in the long run. And they are trying some crazy things here, so we will see. It is Starship O'Clock from Chocolator. This is a huge thank you so much from Ben Wallace. Thanks for all you and the team are doing to feed our space nerd cravings. Go SN11 live from Mars. Yes, Mars Studio B, my friends. Mars Studio B. I appreciate all of you guys watching. Again, we're doing things pretty differently here. So, you know, we're running a little different show. We're not trying to be live 24/7. We're not trying to be live all day. We're really just trying to be live when we think things are beginning to happen. I do have something really fun to show you guys here in just a second too. A fun little treat. You might already. Oh, this is going to be awesome. Oh, that's gonna be cool. That's going to be so cool. Give us a second, and you might, if there are a few people that might already be keyed into what's going on. But thank you so much, Ben. I promise we will be putting everything right back in to what we do. That is just my mantra: is iterate and improve rapidly and as quickly as possible. So yes, so thank you guys so much. All right, so this is from Damon. Again, thank you so much. Hi, Tim. Did you see the space debris video from Seattle? No, I have not been hardly able. I haven't, like, when I say I haven't had a minute to do anything, including sleep, like, there has not been a minute. I have not been able to, like, turn on YouTube. I have not been able to, you know, do anything. I've been able to pop on Twitter a couple times to try to provide some updates. But yeah, I have not seen any of the space debris video from Seattle, and if someone in Discord can link that, I would actually really like to see that. That's crazy. Thank you guys so much. This is a good question from Musical Wolves. Could stainless steel Starship belly flop at 6 kilometers launch Super Heavy? And so the booster Starship would dock with Super Heavy and use Super Heavy to catch Starship and then catch Super Heavy and Starship. Long answer short, sure, anything's physically possible. The biggest limitation here is, obviously, if you're trying to catch Starship, you would either have to match its velocity by going up, you know, so the booster is going up, Starship's coming down, right? And then the booster would either have to be falling at the same speed as it, which is not really meant, guys, I have a little treat here for you guys. Yeah. Just for this launch, we do have Rotor Visual, a professional, licensed UAS, an uncrewed aerial system, out there checking out the weather. This is, of course, outside of the temporary flight restriction. Of course, 100% legal. But yeah, look at this. This is real time, straight from an SDI cable. And yeah, this is giving you a sense of how foggy it is. You still cannot see Starship. And we are shooting at the equivalent of 80 millimeters. So this is a fairly tight lens. It'd be kind of similar to like a 2x on a cell phone. That's about how tight the shot is, and you just cannot see anything out there. That is how foggy and how low the visibility still is. So again, this is done completely legally and with all permissions and everything up to snuff, because that is how we do things around here. We do things by the books. For the books. What? I don't know. Yeah, so we'll hopefully, if it's clear during launch, that will be up in the air, and we will be able to get video of launch and landing potentially from the sky. And if we aren't able to ingest that during the live stream, we will of course have that recorded. So of course, guys, don't forget, this is historic. This could be the one that SpaceX lands. This could be the one that SpaceX totally recovers. So that would be history in the making. That's what all of this is for. That is what we are here to do for you guys, is try and capture and share history and try to bring you guys along for the ride. So what I am trying to do, again, literally quite right outside my arm here, like right here, is the straight view to the rocket. So you know, we're trying to bring you guys along for the ride, make it feel like you are here with us, and kind of give you a new perspective, and just try to, again, just do things that we can. So Musical Wolves, back to your question real quick. So the biggest problem is, if Starship is following engines first, its only method of control really is by running the engines. If the engines are running and then you have a booster coming up, now you're going to be lighting your engines into the inner stage of the booster, which would definitely make the booster explode. It would not be a good idea. Or you could try to match velocities. It just, frankly, I don't know. I don't see catching Starship with a super heavy booster as an option. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't really know how to put it any other way. So yeah. From Unimoss, I like this. Let's give a clap for all the new and upcoming rockets from SpaceX, NASA, Rocket Lab, and Blue Origin, because that is true. You guys should know me. I am #Team Space. I'm a big fan of everything spaceflight. If you're trying to get humans and expand our knowledge and our our horizons quite literally, then I'm cheering for you. So there's a lot of new and upcoming rockets, especially from Rocket Lab's Neutron is going to be amazing. Blue Origin's New Glenn, when it eventually comes out, will be amazing. And SLS, I mean, they passed a really important critical milestone, which was having a successful green run test flight. It was awesome. So yeah. Oh, a Falcon 9 upper stage didn't deorbit itself properly. That's crazy. That is crazy. Sorry if you guys hear the beeping here. Yeah, do you want to just take it into another room? Yeah. Sorry, guys. All right. This is from Thomas Anfang. Don't say you are pumped for SN11 unless you clap incessantly. We'll see. Again, lack of sleep might either make me basically want to fall asleep on a hammock during the launch and just hang out, or it might make me lose my mind even more because, frankly, that's what sleep deprivation does. So, yeah. This is Jay. Thank you for wanting to help. Tim, what is the best way to donate without a certain social media group taking a third of your donation? So, yeah, obviously, YouTube will take 30% of all donations and memberships. That's why we prefer Patreon, because Patreon doesn't take as much. It also allows us to do better, more integrations, more easy behind-the-scenes things, and kind of cool things to do, including Patreon patches, which we just got up in the store for pre-order. So, yeah, we really do like the Patreon members. It's been a really awesome system to be able to integrate with. So, yeah, so that's the best way, in my opinion, is Patreon. So thank you so much to the Patreon. And those of you that are in the Discord channel, hello, Discord. Yeah, so if you guys want to join our awesome Discord community, and if you want to join in on launch day and have a smaller group to be able to talk to, hang out with, consider becoming a Patreon supporter by going to patreon.com/everydayastronaut. There you can join the awesome Discord community. I love that family. Really, really fun. This is from Tree. Hi, Tim. I heard your songs at Rocket Lab's Coast Phase. Didn't expect that. Love your videos. Yeah, Rocket Lab is using some of my music now. I'm really excited about that. That's the ultimate goal for me, is just, making everything that I can to help encourage and lift up those that are pursuing the cosmos. So, yeah, we're trying. Ooh, look at this spicy view on air. I don't know exactly what we're looking at, but look at that. We're looking at some water tanks. Yeah. 1 second here. All right, so thank you very much, John. The studio looks great. I appreciate it, and also John for the membership. All right, this is from Mark. Great work on the channel. Is this your full-time job? Mark, this has been my full-time job for 4 years now. I quit being a full-time professional photographer to pursue Everyday Astronaut. And at the beginning of 2017, I had quite literally no idea what that meant. I had no revenue stream. I had no way of knowing how I was going to turn it into a career. And it just took some playing around. I thought I was going to be on Instagram doing stuff. And that quickly shifted. I thought I was going to be live streaming Kerbal Space Program on Twitch for a while, like my friends DOS and EJSA. People were out there doing awesome streams. I thought that was going to be my career. I'm going to be a professional Kerbal Space Program player, basically. And then it slowly kind of evolved into YouTube and making YouTube more long-form videos that talk about spaceflight and that hopefully explain things spaceflight-wise. So, yeah, it's been my full-time job for 4 years. It's been sustainable for about 2 now. Although I'm one of those people. All I want to do is just reinvest and make upgrades, make better videos. That's what it's all about. So I know. By the way, I need to say, I am so excited to get back to making videos and not just live streaming. I know a lot of people are like, all he does now is live stream. Currently, that is 100% true. There is no way around that. Currently, that is just simply the truth, and it's because we've been building out a studio now for the whole year, basically, for a month and a half, and before that, we were trying to live stream from a hotel on South Padre Island, and that took up all of our other time. So I've not been in Iowa, which is home all year. Quite literally, 2021 have not been home. So Mars Studio B is basically home too. So that's exactly what I was talking about right there. Let's not show that on air. What's he do? Is he trying to find... Oh. Anyway. That's funny. So yeah, the full-time job, absolutely. Okay, so what happened to OLF on YouTube today? David, we pushed it back to... So for those of you that don't know, OLF is Our Ludicrous Future. That's the podcast that I do most weeks, or I like to say each week, but not this week, unfortunately, because, again, zero sleep. Every second has been going into doing this stuff right here. So every second has been just going into getting this studio ready to be able to revamp it. So yesterday I had to let the guys know there's no chance that I was going to be able to be on air yesterday, and then assuming that there's a launch today, I couldn't be on air either today. So they are recording as we speak an episode with just Ben, and Joe will be coming out tomorrow now, so a day late. Yeah. All right. Let's see. This is from William Bishop. What advice would you give to someone wanting to get into the aerospace field? Hopefully it doesn't last so long it messes up my birthday plans today. Well, first off, happy birthday, William Bishop. And second off, the answer to anything along those lines of what advice would you give to someone wanting to get into the aerospace field? This goes for anything. Whatever you want to get into, start. Period. I know sometimes the first step is the hardest one. If you want to get into the aerospace field, you know, obviously if you want to, depends on what you want to do. If you want to be an engineer and work on rockets, you better go to college, you better work your butt off and prove that you have the knowledge, the expertise to be able to sit there and make engineering decisions, to be able to produce a rocket. If you want to build a rocket, go out there and start practicing welding or start getting some hands-on tools and hands-on experience that might not require, you know, more of a traditional route. You know, there's a lot of people that work at, specifically down here at SpaceX in Boca Chica, a lot of people are just skilled workers. You know, they're people that, a lot of people have been hired from the port of Brownsville, people that are good at welding, that are now literally welding Starship, because they were originally welding ships, you know, like oil ships and oil tankers, and all that types of stuff, and now they are welding rocket ships. So definitely just go out there and get your, you know, get your feet wet, get your hands dirty, open books, and get out there and start learning, because the hardest part is starting, but that is the only way to get into anything in life, is just quite literally starting. A lot of people also ask, like, how do you start a YouTube channel? It's like, start. Put a video on YouTube. Start there. It's going to be terrible, and if you're not embarrassed by it in 3 years, then you're not growing either. So I think a lot of people strive for their first YouTube video to be perfect and just like the other people that they watch on YouTube, or the other, you know, the other channels that they watch, and they just want it to be this fantastic video. It's not going to be. It's going to be bad, and it should be bad. If your first one's perfect, then you probably should have started 2 years ago. Yeah, you want to start things and just get momentum going, and then make iterative adjustments. Just get the bare minimum viable product going and iterate from there. That's absolutely, that's the SpaceX method. That's the agile method, is like, do the least amount of things that you can in order to prove the first step, and then from there solve the next step and iterate on that. So that's what Starship is too. We remember 2 years ago they were testing Starhopper, which was just, you can not quite see it here. Maybe on RoboCam we could pull it up. I don't know if we can see it, but Starhopper is basically part of the infrastructure out there these days, and it's you know, it was the absolute minimum that SpaceX needed to be able to prove that they could basically fuel up a vehicle, put a Raptor engine on it, and do some flight, get some experience under them with a Raptor engine. It was the minimum viable vehicle. It's a miracle that it survived. It taught them a lot of lessons. They did it quite literally with a slab of concrete and like a couple fuel tanks, and that is it. So yeah, let's see. So that's a long rant there. This is from RMJ 2003. Hi Tim, if SN20 and BN3 launch to orbit in July, do you think that Starship will land properly, or will terminal velocity be different from orbit? Oh baby, the velocities from orbit are substantial. The velocities, and therefore the heat the vehicle experiences going from orbit versus just even what the booster experiences is, when I say 64 times more heat experienced on the vehicle, I mean 64 times more heat, because unfortunately for at the whim of all aerospace engineers, one of the hardest things is re-entry, because the relationship from how much heat the vehicle experiences versus how fast it's going is not by, like, say you double your speed. You don't double your heat. That'd be like a 1-to-1 ratio, right? So that'd be like a linear 1-to-1 ratio. Exponential, you know, like, or say, you know, it's by the square. Say you go twice as fast, you'd experience 4 times as much heat. That still sounds pretty crazy, but the relationship between heat and speed, velocity, if you increase your velocity 2 times, you actually experience about 8 times more heat on the vehicle. So it's extremely hard to engineer something to be able to handle that much heat. And the upper stage of Starship will be going about 4 times faster than the, almost 4 times faster than the first stage, than the booster. So if you are going 4 times faster, the heat is experiencing almost, the upper stage is experiencing almost 65 or 64 times more heat than the booster. That's crazy. That's why the upper stage will need heat shields. That's why it will need to come in belly first, basically screaming back from orbit with all of its flaps, its ailerons extended. It's experiencing an extreme amount of heat and has to be able to handle that. So seal number 20 will need to be fully tiled. It will be able to it will need to have the entire heat shield, the entire windward surface, anything that is facing the extreme heat from reentry, which, by the way, the heat from reentry isn't from, like, air friction. It's not air moving past it really fast. It's actually the fact that air can't get out of the way fast enough. So if you take air and you compress it really tight, it heats up. It's the laws of thermodynamics. So if you take and compress air, it heats up. If you compress it so much and it heats up enough, it'll change state and actually go from being a gas into being plasma, which is another state of matter, which is extremely hot. You know, the sun, plasma, like, that's crazy, crazy hot stuff. So Starships coming in, or anything coming back from reentry, space shuttles, you know, the Dragon capsule, the Apollo capsule, the Soyuz capsule, things that are coming back in from orbital velocity are experiencing extremely high amounts of heat on reentry, because the air just simply can't get out of the way fast enough, and then it compresses and heats up to really, really, really high temperatures. So what they experience for heating right now, when they're only going up to like 10 kilometers and falling, is very low. Like, it's probably, you know, it's the type of heating that a regular vehicle could probably, you know, manage no problem. Like, you could probably drop a car from 10 kilometers with, you know, let it reach terminal velocity, and I'm sure it wouldn't start melting. The heat is not that high. But if you dropped it from 100 kilometers and let it fall, this velocity would be a lot higher because you have a lot more potential energy. By the time it starts getting into the lower parts of the atmosphere, it would heat up that atmosphere a lot more. Its terminal velocity would be a lot higher. Well, the terminal velocity, it might not ever reach terminal velocity because it's going so fast. It might never slow down enough to reach terminal velocity. So, yeah. Hopefully that answers. That was a long-winded question. And as far as BN3, booster number 3, who knows? I don't even know if they'll try landing the first one. I have my doubts about them ever landing a booster out here at Boca Chica. I just don't imagine that being a possibility, honestly. So we will see. Give me some of that belly flop action from JD Powell. Thank you so much. This is from Jenna Tools. Says, do you think they will nail the first Mars landing? So, of course, that is the ultimate aspiration of Starship. Starship's goals are to eventually get humans onto Mars and actually begin colonizing Mars and terraforming it and turning it to a place where humans can permanently live, have a permanent presence on Mars. I know that sounds ridiculous. I know, trust me. It is. It's a lofty goal, but by solving that, you solve a lot of other things, aerospace related in the meantime, too. So do I think they'll nail the first Mars landing? I don't know if they will. I actually don't think they will, and that's perfectly fine. They're building these things to be very inexpensive. You know, they're building these things at a cost because they're scaling the manufacturing. They're building them much cheaper than a traditional rocket. They can launch many of these things to Mars and just let it rip and see what works, see what doesn't work. And I really honestly think that that eventually, yeah, they'll absolutely nail a landing on Mars with a vehicle this big, which again is over 100 metric tons. So 100 times more, over 100 times heavier than, say, the Perseverance rover that just landed recently. So it would be absolutely crazy. Thank you so much from Mike Dahmer. You're welcome. Thank you so much for your support. It really, really means the world, and makes this stuff all happen. So thank you so much, of course. This is from Malawa 2. Of course, placing the same aerodynamic surfaces as the Starship in the Super Heavy just increases the scale. Increasing the scale. So the problem too with the aerodynamic surfaces, a lot of people are asking, why don't they belly flop the booster? Like if this is such a great idea for how to land a rocket, it slows it down so much that you really require very little propellant to do the landing, and that's something we'll be talking about in the video that I'm working on, that I reshot. That is in the edit bay as soon as this is all put away and as soon as we're not live streaming. And anyway, the booster, one of the biggest problems with the booster is that it will have 28-ish Raptor engines on the bottom. That is a lot of weight. It's going to be extremely heavy on one side of the rocket, and then the other side will not be very heavy. So it will not want to fall belly first. Think about how big of a counterweight or a ballast Starship has. So Starship, up in the nose of it, actually has an oxygen header tank that is very full of oxygen, and therefore it's very heavy. Helps keep the nose down to counteract the weight of the engines that are in the tail. So it also has much larger fins in the back to again help make it so the engines don't want to just fall first, because of course with anything falling, or moving through a fluid such as air, yes, air is a fluid. It's not a liquid, but it's a fluid. The center of mass wants to go first, behind the center of lift or drag. So, basically the engines will want to fall first. And on Super Heavy with 28 of them, they will want to be first. So to counteract that and try to make it belly flop, you would have to have just really, 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 really big like fins or flaps or ailerons, and that's just not really an option, I don't think, for Super Heavy. Now, the thing that you might see New Glenn, that Blue Origin's New Glenn is that they want to be employing. They will have some strakes basically, and that's not so it can fall flat, but it will make it so it can almost glide. And by doing so, you can let the atmosphere remove more and more of your velocity as possible, because the longer it stays in the atmosphere, the more the atmosphere can take energy away from the vehicle, which of course is the entire point altogether. So, yes, hopefully that answers your question. This is from Dylan. Is the journey to Mars faster or longer for starships than, for example, the Perseverance rover? So there's a thing called a pork chop delta V plot, which is basically where you can say you require a certain amount of delta V depending on, the change of velocity. So basically how efficient your engines are plus how much fuel you have on board equals how far and how much delta V, how much velocity you can change on your vehicle at any given moment. So in order to get to Mars, you need a certain amount of delta V. To get to Mars faster, you need more delta V. And depending on your launch window, when you're actually launching at Mars, there's a most efficient route. But you can actually speed that up by expending more and more delta V, so using more and more fuel if it's available. And so there's different flight profiles. Like a very nearly empty Starship could probably get there a lot quicker versus a Starship that had more payload going to Mars, going to the surface of Mars. And they can make iterations. They can make changes as the vehicle gets more and more efficient, uses more and more efficient Raptor engines. The vehicle will actually, they could decrease the time to Mars, or they could increase the payload. So you kind of have that trade-off. Like, yeah, you could get to Mars quicker, but it's normally at the sacrifice of payload. So if you don't care about having a lot of down mass or a lot of payload going to Mars, you can get there quicker. But if you want more, it's a trade-off. Everything in aerospace is a trade-off. So, yeah. All right. This is from Dustin White. Have you considered having someone with you on live streams? You and Felix from What About It together when he moves to the States would be great. Kind of like the TV show Perfect Strangers, but with space. Thanks. 100%. And we've actually done that for DM2. We actually brought on guests, other speakers. As soon as we kind of get things settled around here, this is like our minimum viable working product of our new setup. We eventually want to have, especially our friends with Cosmic Perspective and S Padres, so Rachel and Jean, if they want to pop on and hang out with you guys. We have a lot of people on board that I'm excited to get on camera offer me a little voice break and or have some fun dialogue on camera. But my ultimate goal is to bring people on to be able to, experience a launch in person. So I actually have a couple friends that are also, in the YouTube world that I'm excited to bring on board. So start thinking of your favorite creators that you would want to see experience a launch right on the edge of the exclusion zone, that want to see a Starship. Start reaching out to them on Twitter, because I will be eventually able to host and have multiple people, especially once everyone's vaccinated. Like half of our crew right now has gone through a couple shots, so that's great. I'll feel it'll be a lot better to be able to have multiple people, and people traveling all around to be able to come into studio with me and help host and just experience a launch and be able to bring that to you guys. Again, that's the whole point of Everyday Astronaut, is bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. My job is to help bring this stuff to you guys so that you can witness history, you can share in the excitement of spaceflight. So, yes, that is absolutely an option. And as soon as Felix is here and here permanently, and if he wants to come out to a launch, oh, he's got a place to hang out for sure. Let's see. This is a good question from Biggie99. What's the difference in the last attempt? So that's actually a fantastic question, because honestly, so if you are unfamiliar, the last attempt for SN10 looked really quite good. They made it all the way through the belly flop to tail down landing maneuver, which is where they go from their belly, they light the engines, flip, and they're going to land on the tail of the rocket. Incredible, right? They actually more or less did that. Now, they didn't do it very softly, and they didn't land soft enough that the vehicle survived. There is definitely some problems with it, but they got a lot further, which is again what the whole point of this entire program is just to prove steps, make improvements, do something, give it a try, see how it's going. So yeah, so as far as what's different and new, we do know Siri naughty. That was weird. As far as what we do know, though, about Starship between SN10 and 11, it sounds like 10 was beginning to ingest helium. Now, that's something we should maybe look at a graphic here for you guys so I can kind of explain this a little bit better. But inside of Starship, inside any rocket, there's going to be pressure, and there's going to be basically your fuel and your propellant, or your propellant and an empty space, basically. So in the case of Starship, we have a main LOX tank, so main liquid oxygen tank, and then we have a main CH4 tank, so liquid methane. And then we also have a header tank for liquid methane and a header tank for liquid oxygen. Now, those header tanks are just basically for the landing maneuver, so they can have reserved fuel for landing that hopefully doesn't slosh around too much, hopefully doesn't get sucked, sucking up air bubbles, because that's the thing. Where there's not liquid fuel, Starship in the main tanks currently deploys something called autogenous pressurization. So autogenous pressurization is where they allow, they actually are piping back in, because when you're draining a liquid, so say I had this water bottle. Sorry, I know you might not be able to see this on screen, but say you have a water bottle, right? And it's sealed up, and you try draining water out of it. The only way you could get water out and have it be sealed would be to basically you'd be crushing the water bottle, right? The water bottle would start being crushed because you're pulling the volume out, you're pulling the liquid out, and therefore the same amount of air that's in the top of the water bottle would be the same. So you'd actually, in order to make it not collapse, you have to vent it. You have to, here on Earth, when there's ambient air, you can suck just more air in. But in the sealed container like that, you have to actually backfill it. You have to increase the pressure behind it and basically maintain that pressure as fuel is drained. So what they're doing with Starship is they're actually piping back gaseous methane in the methane tanks and gaseous oxygen in the oxygen tanks. That's because the gaseous versions of those propellants are a lot less dense. Actually, they're what's the word for it? Less dense, spacious, biggerness. They're a lot more bigliness. And so what they do is, you can basically put that, and that way it doesn't react. If you have, gaseous methane and liquid methane next to each other, they can coexist for the most part, because they're not going to like blow up if each other touches, because it's just a different state of the same matter. Now, what they found was happening, the reason that SN8 failed was because the methane header tank had some sloshing, and there was points where the sloshing occurred so much that the liquid methane was actually sloshing and creating these, like, imagine a surfer or something like that, like Rachel and Jean surfing, and you have the barrel, of a wave coming over like this. Now imagine that being liquid methane, and it could catch a pocket of gaseous methane. When it catches a pocket like that, it quite literally would instantly flash change that pocket of gas into liquid. And when it does that, it compresses. So that collapsed the header tank. And when the header tank collapsed, then it lost pressure, and it damaged the vehicle, basically, so it could not maintain pressure throughout the landing phase. So they started going to helium to backfill, which is what most rockets use. The Falcon 9 uses helium. It's inert, so it can't, like, spark and blow up. It's extremely undense or sparse, so it can fill big voids really easily and be, compressed down into this tiny little tank, and then just let out and fill big voids. That's what helium is normally for. You can also use nitrogen, but it's less dense, so it therefore requires larger tanks to be able to do that. So it's not as efficient. And helium's extremely expensive. So they started actually using helium as a temporary band-aid until they could fix the sloshing inside those header tanks. So they did that for 9 and 10. 9, the engine just didn't relight, period. And 10, sorry, by the way, we don't really, our T0 is total guess. And for 10, apparently it was ingesting some of those helium bubbles into the landing engine, which made it underperform and therefore touch down too fast. So what has changed? This is all a long one. Big E99, you got my full attention on this one, my friend. What's the difference from the last attempt? The difference, we don't really know for sure, but they probably learned some lessons from 10 with ingesting helium and are hopefully making some changes to not ingest helium this time and be able to maintain full pressure and full thrust for that landing, or the necessary amount of thrust. All right, so let's keep going here. From Dentirius Lee, Elon needs to cut shell of fallen starships into small pieces like 1 foot and sell them with certificates of what starship number it's from. I would pay $200 for that. I'm sure he needs, honestly, that would be fantastic. I think people would lose their minds for that, because I think it'd be really cool to own pieces of history. I hope they do that. They could literally just set up a small team of people to do that and certify it and, like, make these little things, and I guarantee they could make money. This is from Evan. Evan, you need to donate if you want him to respond, That's not true, Evan, as you can tell. What we do, though, the problem is I have a bit of conundrum. This is any channel that has 30,000 people watching and people chatting and doing all the stuff. Obviously, the problem is we have thousands of people talking at one time, so I obviously can't keep track of all chats. But then we also have people that are generous enough to donate money to help support what we're doing. So by obligation, I feel like I should try and at least get through those queues of questions and things like that. But I can't keep up. I'm only one person. I talk way too much anyway. And my goal here is to actually explain as much stuff as I can. So yes, I feel morally obligated to address the people that I can't even keep up with super chats. I can't keep up with the people that are donating. I feel horrible about it because people are wanting probably to get their name read or, get some recognition. I can't keep up. There's just no way. So yes, I'm going to read those first, or try to, and I can't. But I'm going to answer questions, and that's what's most important to me. So I'm sorry if you feel like I'm not able to keep up with you guys. I can't. It's just an impossibility, and I'm way too tired to think about that. So this is from, for instance, here's a great question from someone named Shawshake, who asks, how can serial number 11 navigate from launch pad to landing pad so accurately? That's a fantastic question. So, of course, there's a whole suite of sensors on any rocket. There's inertial measurement units, so things that can tell if it's changed directions. There's accelerometers, which can also tell. So the inertial measurement units really can tell the inertia. So basically tell which direction it's pointing. There's accelerometers, which can tell how quickly it's accelerating and in what direction. So you can use that to plot where you are, where you're going. But of course, you also have things like GPS, Global Positioning System, which can triangulate where you are and actually tell the rocket where it is, just like a car, just like an airplane. And it can, know where it's at in 3D space or in reality, just using GPS, quite literally. Of course, they're likely using military-grade GPS, the stuff that's not publicly available, which is a lot higher accuracy, down to, I believe it's like 10 centimeters, as opposed to something more like a meter. Something like that. I'm not sure of those exact specifications, but something like that they likely do have, because of course they are, in some essences, part of the Department of Defense and have a lot of access to those technologies. So, and also, yeah, if you literally took a normal off-the-shelf GPS and you launched it on a rocket, it would actually shut down. Every GPS unit you ever buy has an inherent, like, kill switch, basically, inside it, that if it senses it's going too high or too fast, it will kill itself. It will just and start just, I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. And that is so that we don't have people making missiles and doing things that are mean with those things. So, yeah, so of course these are military spec GPS units, and yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Thank you very much, Chris Stone. I appreciate that. Let's see. This is from Peter. Any idea when your two that we know of videos will be coming out? Also, Team Space shirts. Great news for you, Peter. So, again, I actually reshot the belly flop to... why is SpaceX belly flopping? It's a video going over all of the details on this belly flop maneuver. Why, how, what the math is, the science, the engineering decisions, everything about the belly flop and tail down landing maneuver, we're diving into really deep. So we're going to be talking about terminal velocity, gravity drag or gravity loss, engine throttling, thrust to weight ratio. It's going to be and like suicide burns and things like that you may have heard some of these things before, but I've already animated a lot of it, so I don't have to redo those. But I did completely reshoot the entire video. Not fun, because a lot of it had changed. An awful lot of it had changed. So that one's going to be coming out probably as soon as I finally get back to Iowa. That's my goal right now, is to probably try to finish up the studio here and then get back to Iowa once I get my car back, which is still in the shop after over 2 months. Not fun. I will be picking that up and then getting my butt home for the first time in 2021. Have not been home in 2021. So if I look like I haven't slept, it's because I've been down here not sleeping and working. So that's the goal, is to get this kind of tidied up and ready to go, so I can go home, so I can get back to my scheduled videos. And then once this place is done and the studio is completely built out, guess what? I can pop down here, no big deal, hit a switch and go. Like, that's the ultimate goal. So, yeah. So hopefully that explains that video. The other one is the Russian video, the Russian engine video that you guys have been waiting over a year for. That will likely be the next one. We might be sneaking in a small sat launcher update video between there, and then getting into the Soviet, the history of every Soviet and Russian rocket engine ever. It's incredible the amount of engines that those plucky country came up with, and trying to untangle the absolute just mystery of those engines and what flew on what rocket and what came before what. It's really, really, really hard. It's taken a long time to put that together, but we finally do actually have a family tree of rocket engines, which I think is a first. So it's gonna be crazy. Yeah. So and Team Space shirts, we actually have a Team Space shirt that will be coming out with the rocket engine video, and that is done and actually already produced. All right, so this is also from John McGarry. When is the episode on Russian engine tech coming out? So again, it'll probably at this point be the third video to come out this year, basically. Yeah, it's going to be Russian video is the most hyped video of 2020. Oh, so true. So true. Thank you very much, Matthias. I appreciate that. I'm glad that a lot of you guys were able to catch my music being played on Rocket Lab's streams. Also, some of my music collaborations have been featured on SpaceX streams too. I did a collaboration with Test Shot Starfish, and so yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So thank you for those of you that do listen. So here we go. From Moto Bum. Everyday astronaut, are they still using the flap out landing gear? If so, I'm betting a failed landing. So Moto, that's a good question. Yes, they're still using the kind of junky landing gear. The landing legs we've seen since SN5, basically. So those first 150-meter hops with the Starship prototype, not Starhopper, had these just janky landing legs that just kind of fold down. They're supposed to stick. I'm sure they hopefully made improvements to make sure that they actually stick and be oriented. Elon did mention that even if they were all properly deployed, Starship would have come down too hard and fast. SN10 came down too hard and too fast to have made any difference. So the landing legs wouldn't have mattered at all. So That being said, they still have those same landing legs on 10, and again, hopefully they make it so they can click into place a little bit better. But they really, it's all about touching down at a slow velocity, at a velocity more like what serial number 5 and 6 landed at. If they do that, it might live to tell about it. So, yeah, we will see. I also have a lot of concerns about the landing legs, but it doesn't matter. I know that they want to touch down softly and have the vehicle live to tell about it. But I think let's do a scenario here. Let's say the SN11 here lands on its, perfectly down on its feet, and it's just hanging out there, and they are able to detank and safe it, and then say it just collapses and falls over. That would be a huge win, because the landing gear at this point are terrible. And SpaceX knows that. They're not ready to solve landing gear yet. They really aren't looking to reuse these rockets yet. They're not looking to... They're going to scrap this. They're going to be scrapping SN11. Even if it lands and is... They would maybe consider reflying it once or something. Maybe. I have doubts about that. But it's not like... This is not a production vehicle yet. This is still a prototype. It's like, having a crash test car, thinking that you're going to... Why didn't they put a cage around a crash test car when they were testing it so that they can still reuse it later? It's like, no. This is made for testing. It's made only for one purpose. It will never see life as... I'm sure they would love to get the Raptors back. If they got the Raptors back mostly in one piece or intact, that would probably be great. So, if it kind of tipped over and stayed there, because if they safe it and it's not pressurized with propellant and it tipped over and they could pull the Raptors off of it, I'm sure that would probably be like, they'd probably be like, yes, because now we can just easily scrap it and not have to worry about transporting it. But yeah, the landing legs are not great, and hopefully we see them get better in the future, but no one knows when that will be. From Jonas Gang says, do you think New Glenn can go to Mars in one go without refueling? I love your channel and I'm 11 years old. Well, awesome, Jonas. That's a great question. Man, I wish I was that smart when I was your age, because that's a fantastic question. Yes, absolutely. A relatively small rocket can get to Mars. Just how much can it get there, and can it get back, So, for instance, the Falcon 9 can definitely send something to Mars, and that's a much smaller rocket than New Glenn and a much smaller rocket than Starship. As a matter of fact, New Glenn, with just in a single launch, if you're taking one New Glenn rocket and sending something off to Mars, it can take potentially, if you're just trying to get Starship to Mars in one launch, you actually can't do it. It doesn't have enough delta V or enough change in velocity in one, like going into orbit. It can't get to Mars. It has to stay in orbit, have other Starships come up, meet it in orbit, refuel it, and then take it, and actually get it full of fuel again before it can get to Mars. That's what it actually takes. So if you think about it, New Glenn can actually take more to Mars likely in one single go, unless, of course, if they launch, say Starship got 100 tons up to orbit, and that 100 tons was, say, 10 tons of payload and 90 tons of a kick stage or something, then yeah, Starship could probably get a full 10 tons to Mars or something like that. But yeah. Hopefully that helps answer your question. New Glenn will definitely be able to get payloads to Mars, just like an Atlas V or a Falcon 9 or a Proton or any other vehicle. But how much? I don't have the numbers offhand, but it can definitely do Mars in one go without refueling. But of course, it can't get back or anything like that. This is from Kevin. You're absolutely welcome. Thank you. And Chris, thank you for the membership. John McGarry says, Tim, you should be picked to travel to the moon on Starship 2023. You would be the ideal educator/journalist. Well, thank you, John. I actually did apply for Dear Moon. That is something, to be honest, that I did not imagine I would ever do. There is a new deadline that in 5 days I have to produce a video. And those of you that know anything about me producing videos, 5 days would get... I guess it is a 1-minute video. So at least I'm not going to be producing a 50-minute long video. 5 days, though, in this environment where it's like no sleep and stuff might be very difficult, but we'll do it. We'll get a video together, a 1-minute video about my entry for Dear Moon. It still terrifies me. I still don't honestly know if I could actually do it, or if I'd genuinely chicken out. I'm just being honest. It scares me. Are you kidding me? I'm watching these prototype vehicles explode in front of my eyes and feeling the thunder from it. From 5 miles away. Like, of course, I'd be terrified to get up on one. But then again, like when I think about flying around the moon and seeing Earth rise from behind the limb of the moon, I mean, it's just that's how could you not want to see that? But I also I don't want to die. So it's the balance of like I want to see that, but I don't want to die. So yeah, there we go. So we'll see. I would love to do that. So from Brant, thank you. Nothing to say. Love your content. Thank you for all your hard work. Here's hoping the legs work this time. I would love at this point, fourth time's the charm. You know, I really would love if they actually like just full blown stuck the landing on this one. Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic. I want to see them stick the landing. I want to see it. Let's see here. So this is from Alan says, a question for Tim. Once Starship is on Mars, would Jeff Coover be able to pole vault over it? I love that. Alan, thank you for saying hi to my friend Jeff Coover. That is awesome. So we actually, you know, here's the deal. Mars has 38% the amount of gravity that Earth does. So in theory, you could, assuming that you could still run as fast because you might actually have a hard time getting traction and things like that and gaining your forward momentum. And then, of course, like if you didn't have to worry about a spacesuit and all those extra constraints, you could jump about 2.5 times higher. Now, I forget how high, what Jeff's, what his PR is. I feel like it's, oh man, I'm going to totally waffle this. I totally have no idea, but I feel like let's say it's 9 meters. I don't remember. Sorry, Jeff. Something like that. No, that seems really high. I have no idea. Let's pretend Jeff Coover can jump 10 meters, which was probably a world record in pole vaulting, and I'm guaranteed Jacob Pauly and Jeff Coover and all other pole vaulters out there are laughing at me right now. Let's say you could jump 10 meters on Earth. Assuming lower air resistance too, you could actually maybe get a little bit more, but you could likely jump 25 meters on Mars, which would still not clear Starship, which is 50 meters tall. But I do love that question. That is what YouTube is for. Thank you so much, Alan. I really, really appreciate that, and big shout out to Alan and to pole vaulters everywhere, and to the first pole vaulters on Mars, whoever that will be. World record is 6.818, so I don't think Jeff Coover's got anywhere close to 10 meters. I love you, Jeff, but it sounds like you obviously haven't quite done that. So in that case, if the world record is 6, we could basically say that someone could maybe jump 15 meters, which if Starship was laying on its side at 9 meters wide, they might be able to clear that. If it fell over, you could probably pole vault over it. So thank you Discord for dropping the world record. Specifically fa in Discord. Thank you guys. So by the way, for those of you wondering what we're looking at, wondering what's going on, let me just give you the quick little spiel on the rundown. We are waiting for the pad to clear. By the way, we never actually did pointy end up, flamey end down because we haven't slept and we're not thinking. Can we clear that? Can we get that clear? Because I think this is important. This is a vital portion of my entire existence at this point. So, here's the deal. Is the pointy end up and is the flamey end down? Based on my professional analysis of the situation and having seen the rocket and shot it now in 12K and 8K, 120 frames a second. Thank you, Black Magic, for making awesome cameras. I can confirm with my data that the pointy end is up and the flamey end is down. But now what we're waiting on is the personnel to clear the pad. So that is what we're waiting on next. If we see people leaving the pad, then if it's still within the launch window, we very well could see a launch. Although Discord is telling me otherwise at this point. We will see. Today might not be the day. Let's see. We'll see. So we're waiting to hear, but if the road closure gets canceled and all that stuff, people are saying scrubbed. We'll see. All right, let's keep answering some questions though, because we have this new awesome studio space and we gotta play around with it and try and make it happen. Again, the scrub could just be weather related. You know, at this point, Let's show a wider shot just to see what we are or basically are not looking at this point. Yeah, look at that. Normally we have a straight line of sight to Starship. That is a whole lot of nothing. Not even blue sky, just white sky. That is just overcast. So it is likely scrubbed. You want to update the clock and say scrubbed, because I'm hearing that from everybody at this point. So that for us, it's bad news because we do lose Andrew. Although Andrew will hopefully come back Saturday night or Sunday. So hopefully he'll be here to continue helping out and run the show, because all the new stuff is... Go ahead and pull up the studio cam in the background so people can kind of up in the upper dupper. Oh, that's it. Yeah, whatever you want to do. So yeah, there's Andrew. Look at all of his buttons he has to hit. So yeah, lots of buttons. And there's a steep learning curve there for people like me and the rest of the crew here that has never touched anything like this. Not all of us have worked at ESPN for our entire adult lives. So yeah, it's going to be... it would be good to have him here with the new studio space. So frankly, we would love a reset, because I think there's a lot of things we are still needing to do and fix and figure out and get ready. And in fact, we'll actually have what I hope I can promise you will be substantially better views and better audio on launch day. So stand by from us, guys. I'm not going to end quite yet, because we do, of course, have some more questions to answer for you guys. But like I said, again, I do promise that if you come back here, we will have the highest quality, the lowest latency stream. Other than when SpaceX goes live, they'll be beating us probably on quality, of course, at least with the camera positions. But we will have a very close camera, and we will also have very low latency, so lower latency than SpaceX. So if you want to see what happens and kind of know ahead of everybody else, quite literally, you should be here on launch day. So, yeah. So let's see here. This is from First Last Everyday Astronaut. Hey, can you just touch on how none of the tests have ended without destruction? So yeah, I mean, again, it's to be expected. At this point, it's incredible that they've gotten that far in these tests. They're doing so many things new with these Starship prototypes. Specifically, all of these versions of Starships that have the finny, flappity, Aileron fins, every single one of those has 3 Raptor engines, which in itself is already a big upgrade, because none of the previous Starship prototypes had multiple Raptors. So running 3 of the world's most advanced and currently kind of maybe one of the most temperamental engines flying right now, to get all 3 of them behaving and to do your flight profile is amazing. So right there is a huge win. Getting to apogee and hanging out there, huge win. Next, going from that into the belly flop maneuver, another huge win. So that's pretty amazing. And then trying to even do the belly flop to tail down landing maneuver. That's another huge milestone. So each one of these things are milestones, and they really weren't expecting to land any of them. I think SN8 spoiled us by how far it got on its first try. We were all shocked that it got so far on its first try. I lost my mind seeing how far it got on its first try. I was not ready for that at all. So I didn't expect it to hardly make it off the pad, frankly. So, at this point, any distance they make, any amount of time they spend flying is a huge win. So as far as why they've all ended in destruction, it's because they're doing new things. They're doing things that have never been done before, and that's to be expected with anything like this. And that's okay, because, again, this is a prototype. They are iterating from here. So from here on out, they'll just keep making changes and making improvements. Just like we are here at the studio. We're taking SpaceX's motto, which is learn, fail, and learn. Like, fail fast, learn fast, fail fast, repeat, make better, improve, iterate until we have a Falcon 9, until we have the most flown and most reliable rocket on the market right now. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to iterate here, make better and better content. And yes, there's going to be some ups and downs with our stuff too, but every time we make improvements until we have a viable working product, and then we'll get into a block freeze, and then it'll be awesome. So this is from Joey. He wants to know, what are the lifts doing on SN11? So the lifts previously were probably beginning to arm the flight termination system. So of course this thing, has hundreds of, or maybe even 1,000 tons. Oh, I don't think right now it's flying with 1,000. I think it's more like 400 tons or something of propellant. That if it started to fly in the wrong direction, is a lot of explosive energy. So it has to have a way to be able to terminate itself if something goes wrong. So, you know, if it, let's just say it veers over and starts heading towards South Padre Island, as soon as it got out of a certain zone where it's heading, you know, its trajectory is actually heading into an area that would not be safe, they blow it up. They will literally blow it up out of the sky. And so currently the lifts were arming the flight termination system. So they were getting the flight termination system ready for flight. And so that means that during the flight process, if they have to make it go boom, they can make it go boom. So, yeah. All right. So let's keep going here. Thank you so much. Yeah, that lift is coming down as we speak. Zachary Russell, when do you think that Elon will fix the landing legs, and why couldn't they use beefed up versions of what's on Falcon? So, Zachary, that's the ultimate question, because it really doesn't matter. Again, we kind of touched on that just a little bit ago. At this point, it honestly just doesn't really matter. They're not trying to reuse these vehicles. They haven't quite solved that yet anyway. So at this point, any time they're spent engineering that, their time spent not engineering how to make it work in the first place. And then you might just be wasting more expensive landing legs that you're blowing up, right? So they got to get the landing and the things figured out, and that is engineering time and development. That is R&D, research and development. Like, you are spending thousands of human hours solving how to make better landing legs. They might as well not get them on there even and waste that money and that time rushing it on early prototypes that had a high likelihood of failing. So far, the first 3 flights, SN8, SN9, and SN10, none of them would have been recoverable, even with really beefy landing legs. SN10, likely, even with better landing legs, was on fire, and it probably would have gone boom no matter what. So, yeah. There we go. Yeah, that's why they're not beefing them up. But thank you so much, Zach, for your really generous donation. I really, really appreciate that. From Arvind, says, this is I'll just say your last name. From Arvind, I am 10 and I am your biggest fan. I love space stuff and I'm a total space junkie. Let's hope SN9 does well. Well, thank you so much for saying hello. I'm so happy that you're a fan, especially at 10. That is awesome. You are super cool for being 10 years old and being into spaceflight. That is awesome. I appreciate you being a fan. And I also hope that SN11 goes well. I want this to be the first one that lands, because we have gear that is ready to capture this stuff in incredible high quality. And I want to have, 4K or 6K and 8K or even 12K now are our options. I want to have this stuff recorded at high frame rates and be able to archive this stuff so that future generations can look back at this footage and be like, that was the first Starship that landed in that way. There is only one time they ever do these things first, period. So I want to be here for it. I want to be producing the best content we can with the ultimate views and the ultimate recordings. This is, a lot of the stuff that you see. Yes, we have decent live coverage. I think other people do phenomenal jobs too. Of course, NSF and Lab Padre, they've got great cameras as well. They've got great vantage points. But for us, we care so much about preserving the history and recording the stuff. Everything we record is in in very high quality, like 422 or ProRes high quality. Actually, sometimes they just shoot in H.264, but with a log 4K 120 frames a second. So we are able to produce. You've probably seen our collages after the fact. I think they're awesome. It's awesome clips. I'm really proud of that work, and I think in 5-10 years, I'm not going to regret putting the best cameras we can afford everywhere, because this is only going to happen once. The Apollo program, I guarantee anyone that had the option of getting cameras out for Apollo 11 or the first Saturn V launch, or the Apollo 8 or any of those things, or the first Saturn 1C, I guarantee the people that have the best quality footage of that stuff have never once regretted that. I'm sure they're like, I am so proud of that moment and being able to preserve that history. That is what I want to do here. I want to be putting everything I have, my blood, sweat, tears, and every dollar that you guys give me into making sure that we capture this stuff in as high of quality as humanly possible so that future generations can look back and enjoy it, because that is what it's all about. So, yes, and you guys make that possible. Yes, I have Shark Calvin. Thank you so much. Mike wants to know when Hope. They don't fly on weekends. They technically can. I know there's a thing about the county. They could get special permission, but they just don't. Especially, I think, during spring break. I don't see them flying on the weekend. So when Hope has likely moved into Monday. So we will see. From Trevor, I'm glad to finally be down here. Keep up the great work, guys. We're out on the south, and the sun is starting to shine. Yeah, we can kind of see the sun right now, but we're losing Starship in the meantime. So that's probably why. That is probably why. It is not looking good. So again, thank you guys so much for all of you guys that help support what I do. NNA, full stack on pad. Seems a stiff wind might knock the whole thing over when next to fuel tanks. Question mark. They can engineer around that. You know, they would have hold downs likely near the top, just like a Falcon 9. They have the strong back and the transport erector, which in the strong pack holds onto it at the, you know, up in the upper, like the inner stage, and kind of has this little fairing holder to make sure that while it's windy, they can hold onto the rocket, make sure it doesn't tip over. And then assuming that the winds are okay, they can let go of it before it launches, obviously. And there will likely be some kind of system that might be the same system that might catch Super Heavy in the future, you know? It might literally be the same thing that holds the rocket on the launch pad is the same thing that would catch it when they try to land without landing legs for Super Heavy. So, yeah, that's a good question, but I'm sure that they are working on it. I'm sure that is something that they are quite literally doing. Yeah. Again, real quick, if you guys do want to help support me and continue for me to do what I do and hopefully do better and better and better, I am giving you guys 10% off, even though it wasn't a launch day. I am giving you 10% off of the Full Flow hoodie, and a lot of the Full Flow stuff is back in stock, like the mugs and the drinks and stuff like that. So if you want to help support what I do and take 10% off of anything in our Full Flow stage combustion cycle in our inventory here, use coupon code LAUNCHDAY. That's all one word, all lowercase, LAUNCHDAY, to be able to take 10% off of anything Full Flow stage combustion cycle, but also shop around, find some cool apparel for yourselves. Again, we're very proud of the fact that we do all these hand printed and sewn and done everything here in the United States. And we actually produce these. We properly produce and have a warehouse of everything on hand. We don't do any drop shipping. We don't do any print on demand. Everything is handled by our warehouse, by our crew. So if you want to help support what I do and get some cool stuff for yourself or a friend or a loved one, head on over to everydayastronaut.com/shop. Help support what I do and get something awesome for yourself. And thank you. Oh, and by the way, the keychains are finally back in stock, both red and black. Yeah, so check those out. Yeah, get some cool stuff for yourself, and that definitely helps me do what I do. everydayastronaut.com/shop. So thank you guys, because that stuff all helps make this all get better and better and better. And look, I want to show you that we are completely losing Starship as we speak. Bye-bye, Starship. That's why they didn't fly. That's why they didn't fly. This is from Mike. This is a good point. Elon might not be able to sell little scraps, little bits of Starship due to ITAR, the Treaty of Arms and Regulations, basically the International Treaty of Arms and Regulations, I think it is, that basically says you can't sell or distribute any kind of like weapon. And of course, a rocket can essentially be a weapon. It originally was. Rockets were straight up 100% weapons in the get-go. They were a terrifying weapon. They were hard to detect and you know, could deploy very vast distances and rain terror down on, say, London. Horrible, you know, horrific weapons. And so, of course, nowadays with weapons of mass destruction and intercontinental missiles, yeah, that's terrifying. So you really aren't able to. There's very strict guidelines on what you can and cannot do with the pieces of a rocket. Even if it's something as simple as the shell, even if you could go buy that same stainless steel off the shelf, they likely won't be selling it for that reason. So, yeah, let's see here. So, from Leo Black says, thanks for your coverage. Could you please tell us something, what they did today with this single static fire and Raptor number 46? And if you don't know, please speculate for us. So, Leo, they had to replace an engine or replace parts on an engine. And before they fly ever, they always do a static fire. Before, you know, if they swap out an engine, they will light the engines without flying, just to make sure everything's working well before they let go. So, yeah, they, as far as what they did, we don't exactly know for sure, but they swapped Raptors pretty quickly here on this one, and got the Raptor back in the other night. And it was impressive that they were trying to go. I think if the weather was good, they would have easily gone for static fire and flight in the same day. Awesome. I love to see that. So, yeah. Thank you again to all the members. Let's see if we can. Let's see. This is from Kevin Ferris. as this Raptor engine will be used inside and outside of the atmosphere, are vacuum-optimized Raptors going to be a thing? Yes. Oh, yeah. We've already got... So let me see if I can find vacuum Raptor engine. There's already... Elon has tweeted about the vacuum Raptor engine. And there's been some pictures. So check this out. Give me 1 second here. This is the tweet here that SpaceX shared. That is the vacuum Raptor engine. So there will be 3 of these on the upper stage of Starship and 3 sea-level Raptor engines. Of course, if you've watched my Aerospike video, I have a video all about Aerospike engines, why we haven't seen them used, why they're advantageous, or what their limitations are. Watch that video if you have questions about the difference between a normal sea-level nozzle and a vacuum-optimized nozzle. A vacuum-optimized nozzle is really only capable of being used in upper atmosphere, where the atmosphere is very thin. This bell basically lowers the pressure of the engine. So inside the up inside the engine, there's up to like 300 bar. They're operating around 275 bar, so 275 times the amount of pressure is right here at sea level. There's about 300 bar in the combustion chamber, and it gets choked in the throat. And then as it expands, they're exchanging some of that pressure for velocity, because actually once you're going supersonic, in order to increase the velocity of a gas, you actually have to expand it and lower its pressure, and it actually speeds up. So you can speed it up more and more and more until you get to the point where it's really low. Like the ambient air pressure on there would be near vacuum, very, very, very low. Even though there's a lot of stuff moving out of it, the actual pressure of it is very low. But of course, against the virtually zero air, zero atmosphere in space, there is still positive pressure coming out of that nozzle. But here at sea level, it would not be able to survive. So they cannot fire sea-level Raptor engines without some kind of extra support or extra system. Otherwise, something called flow separation will destroy the nozzle. That is where pressure spikes can kind of climb up the walls of the nozzle, and they're kind of random and go like this, and they can actually completely obliterate the nozzle. If you obliterate the nozzle, you blow up the engine, because those nozzles have fuel lines running through them. So literally liquid fuel is running through these nozzles and the nozzle extensions. So you can't have a nozzle blow up. It's not like it's just like, oh, no big deal. Nope, that will be the end of that engine. So yes, there are vacuum optimized Raptor engines being worked on. They will eventually be, they might not even be on the first orbital versions of Starship, because they aren't really necessary, but they will increase the performance of the engine quite a bit. They will increase the specific impulse by about 20 seconds, which, although that doesn't sound like a lot, it is quite a bit. So yeah. All right, let's keep going here. Before I get out of here and do something called try sleeping. Actually, I should probably eat and then sleep. Haven't done that. From SGT Potsy. Thanks for the informative live stream. I always watch your stream for the Starship test. You should do a pointy end up, flamey end down t-shirt with a picture of Starship on it. I'd buy it. So we do have a pointy end up, flamey end down shirt. I don't want my merchandise, though, to just be one company specific. Yes, this does not say Raptor engine on it anywhere. It says full flow stage combustion cycle. It's not a diagram of the Raptor engine. It's a diagram of the full flow stage combustion cycle. So I try to make things a little bit more, trying to tie. I don't want to be tied to SpaceX or ULA or Blue Origin or Rocket Lab. I want to just celebrate what they're doing and really help people think about like the engineering behind those things, and not just be like, here's Starship on a shirt, whee! And like, to me, that's SpaceX's thing to do. Let SpaceX sell Starship shirts. But we'll find ways to kind of celebrate along with you guys. And we've got the pointy end up, flaming end down shirt, but we're not just going to throw a Starship on there because, I don't know. Yep. So let's see here. This is a good question. Dragon says, does anyone remember what they're making the TPS tiles from? So the thermal protective shield, they're being made out of something called, Tough Rock. So it's, or Turf Rock, Tough Rock. And it's basically a carbon, lightly ablative ceramic carbon tile. We should find Cooper Himes. If someone can find Cooper Himes' Twitter pictures that he has, we'll pull that up here. But give me a second. So no, Pika X is what they use on Dragon. The Tough Rock is what they're using on Starship, because it should have better reusability. It should ablate less and insulate pretty darn well. So let's see here. Well, thank you very much, Wyatt. I appreciate that. So this is from PTF S134. Tim, I'm a huge fan. Can you please just talk about the evaluation from ITS to BFR to Starship? So back in the day, October, or I believe it was October 2016 is when SpaceX first announced and Elon showed the plans for the ITS. That was the first public reveal of the plans for this rocket. At the time it was called ITS, the Interplanetary Transportation System. And so, yeah, interplanetary is one word. ITS. Interplanetary Transportation System. It was 12 meters wide. It was like 120 meters tall. Or 110, actually. It was beefy. It was kind of chunky. And so, yeah, that was the original version. And so after that, they just were kind of iterating, trying to see how they can solve and build and fly and utilize this vehicle. And basically, the name has changed from ITS to the BFR, or the Big Falcon rocket, and it's changed from there. Here we go. Here's Cooper's pictures of these tiles, and it changed name from ITS because Elon didn't like it being called ITS. But this is from my friend Cooper Heim, by the way, who's helped out here, and we hope to see him down here for another launch. Really scarily close-up pictures here of the heat shield tiles. Definitely find Cooper Heim on Twitter because the guy is just doing incredible work. But yeah, this is the tough rock. So you'll notice that it does have gaps in it. That's okay. That's so it can have thermal expansion, because as it heats up, they'll likely expand a little bit. And also have places for the hot plasma channels. Like if it's flowing along some of those joints, they'll hit a T intersection and spread out. It won't create this like long laser beam to cut through. We'll see. We'll see how it works, of course. But yeah, so it went from ITS in 2017. They started calling it the BFR, the Big Falcon rocket, and then I think it was Gwen Shotwell, the president of SpaceX, had to say the words BFR, or Big Falcon rocket, in front of Congress. I think that's when they decided we need to change it, and they now changed the nomenclature to Starship. So same rocket, basically same idea, just the evolution and the name has changed into Starship. So yeah. This is from Christina. Can you say a hello to Alderwood Schools in Alderwood, UK? From 4 to 18 years old, they've worked on a space topic inspired by your videos. All trainee astronauts now. That is super cool. Thank you so much, Christina. And hello to Alderwood Schools in the lovely United Kingdom. Thank you for saying hi. Thank you for watching my videos. It really, really does mean the world to me. I can't wait to get back to making more videos for you guys, because I hope that I can help explain some of the cool stuff that's going on. So I hope you guys keep paying attention. I hope that I can get back to making more videos for you guys, and then I hope you join me here on launch day too. So hopefully whenever something's happening here exciting, any kind of launch with Starship, we'll be here, and our coverage will just keep getting better and better. So that is awesome. So thank you for saying hi. From two broke engineering students, go SN11. Thank you, Alex. That's awesome. This is from Sam. Hey, Tim, my family and I made it down to see SN11 last weekend. It was amazing. We'll be rooting extra hard for it today. Thanks for all you do. Well, or on Monday or Sunday or whenever it goes off. Sam, that's awesome. It's so cool seeing people come and visit, especially, as it becomes safer and safer to travel. And as people, as long as, especially once the CDC is like, we're kind of over the hump here or something, I hope that people come from all over the world. I hope once it's safe to do so, people come and see this stuff from all over the world, because this might never be an opportunity in the history of humankind to be able to see a rocket up close and personal like this in development. I mean, you can get literally within like 100 meters or 300 feet of the rocket from the road. Just drive right up to it, because it's a public highway. And I don't think it'll always be a public highway. I personally think at some point you just won't have this kind of access, and there'll be a bigger wall and things that prevent you from being able to see it like we can today. So I think, maybe this summer, late summer, early fall, when it's safe to travel, and if that's a good thing to do, do it. Come see this stuff, or whenever you and your country and your country's health organization say it's safe to travel, get out here. It is incredible. So, yeah. Let's see here. So, yep, scrubs are cheaper than booms, Robert. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is from Calvin. So close to 1 million. Yeah, we're almost to 1 million subs, which at this point has become completely arbitrary, to be honest. Like, I don't really care that much. We're probably going to try to figure out a cool charity stream to do when we do hit 1 million, which I think we probably have to get ready for that in the next month or so, maybe the next 2 months. But yeah, let me know. Like, I want to find a really cool charity, and I'm excited. Yuri's Night is going to be happening here on April 12th. It's a really cool world celebration. It'll be an online party of it again this year, and hopefully next year, 2022, we can all celebrate in person again all around the world in big parties. But Yuri's Night is also, they're doing something cool. They're going to be raising money for families recovering with children recovering from cancer, taking them to space camp. I would love to do something like that. I'm not saying that that's exactly what I want to do, like copying them per se, but I think that's awesome. I would love to do something like that when we get close to the 100 or 1 million, and then we'll do an awesome live stream, and do some kind of awesome some good. Do some good, right? Yeah. Will the visibility have any effect on the launch? Yes, that is why there is not a launch today, my friend. No launch. Will wants to know, will they try again tomorrow? Likely not. They likely will not be trying tomorrow. Yeah. This is from Edward. Launches will be so often code will need to change. Yeah, there's going to be a ton of launches from around here. It's going to be nuts. Thanks to all of you that have become a member. Again, we are working. Andrew, do you want to get ready to show the cool preview here? We actually do have a stream that will get up right away as we're setting up even. So you'll see the cameras kind of go live. It's not hosted. It's just quite literally 4 cameras. Ta-da! Just simple like this. So hi guys, 4 cameras for you guys, for everybody. And they will be, of course, better views on launch day and on when it's not foggy, and when we get our other remote spots finalized and finished up. We will get those going as soon as we have the feeds. And then so the problem is, the reason why people ask why we're not, live streaming constantly, we set up remotes. We can only do those at certain times, and there's a lot of stuff that we still have to set up and hook up on launch day. We're working on getting those things quicker and more optimized and more permanently set up, so we don't have to do this every single time. But in the meantime, we will have, this Patreon and YouTube member live stream up as soon as it might suck for a while, but whatever. At this point, I don't want low quality out there for the public. But for those of you that have helped support, you might as well see as much footage as you can, even if it's garbage footage, right? So that's my thank you to you for those of you that do support what I do. Our way of just kind of trying to give back and give you a little extra bonus for the love and support that you give me, because it makes this stuff happen. So, and we'll go live as soon as we can. We're not using that as like a paywall, I promise. We're not like, hey, if you want to see stuff early, just get on over there and become a patron. No, I understand. Like, I trust me. I want everything to be free and readily available. That's why we're trying to read as many comments as we can that aren't even super chats or anything like that, just to help answer questions and provide resources for you guys. That's what matters to me most, is growing this giant, making the pie grow of people that love spaceflight and space exploration. That's my whole job, right? That's my whole goal. And every dime we get, we put right back into the system. And this is just something that we can try to give back to those who do support, is to offer a janky feed that is not optimized and just kind of, it is what it is, as a thank you. So if you want to support what I do, consider becoming a Patreon member by going to patreon.com/everydayastronaut, or a YouTube member. You'll have that. So so thanks for understanding. And again, we will always have free content out there. We don't put stuff behind a paywall. You guys will be getting this produced feed every single time we possibly can. Tucker, I'm no engineer, but would using the grid fins to handle the load of Starship booster landing be redundant because of stresses of reentry and bearing the weight of the booster? That's kind of the idea, is you want to use something that's already beefed up. So if you think about how much drag and how much forces are already on those grid fins during reentry, they're already handled. The vehicle has to have some kind of tensile load because of the drag. Actually, it's probably more compressive because of the engine bay. But there are some forces, a lot of high forces and torque where those grid fins are attached. So you can already use some of that beefed upness to handle the loads of landing basically on the grid fins. Is kind of the theory we're hearing. So yeah, it's redundant is good because it means you're not over engineering somewhere else. So all right, Dex, congrats on the Twitter verification checkmark. Thank you, Dex. All it took was like 300,000 followers on Twitter or something, and the Department of Defense following the account, and U.S. government agencies and like the NASA administrator and Elon Musk. that's all it takes to get verified, I guess. It took years. I don't know. They don't really do verifications anymore, I guess, which I feel like is very frustrating. I think that media and people that, NSF, you know, that crew, people that are, you know, producing media like that, like I think there should be verifications. There's spam bots constantly of pretending to be entities, and I think it's important. And I think it's important. I think really anyone that verifies that they are human and that they are who they say they are online and have there should be verified. I think that's the way this thing should work. But instead, we're, you know, riddled with bots and all that stuff. So yeah. Again, thank you to the Barters for the membership, and John Quinn. I'm going to have you covering this. Can I book you to come to the next Exos Aerospace launch our new rocket in Q1 2022? We'll see, John. I'm all about seeing new launch vehicles. I'm all about trying to cover as much as we can. Depending on where and exactly when, if it holds Q1 and depending on what's going on in my life, scheduling around rocket launches is the worst thing in the world because you just never know. You can't plan ahead. So, yeah, I would love to see, and hopefully, again, once this is all set up and done, which there is a doneable version of the studio, then we likely I can leave and not be working all the time and take a break and go see things and eventually travel and do all of this fun stuff and produce videos. It will get to that point. I guarantee it. Greg Kavanaugh, initially only one engine needed for landing. Why haul around 3 sea-level Raptors in space only to be used for landing? Is there another way? Redundancy. You want landing redundancy, but also likely when Starship is fully fueled and even at stage separation, they'll likely light up all 6 engines, the sea level and the vacuum optimized engines, to make sure that it continues its trajectory and doesn't start to actually, you know, fall back down. You do have to have a high enough thrust to weight ratio. A little bit. You have something like the Centaur upper stage on the Atlas V and upcoming Vulcan rocket that has such a low thrust to weight ratio that basically lob it up and they start lighting its engine. They basically let it like stay, so it just barely ekes into orbit because it's a very low thrust but extremely high efficient RL-10 engine. So really, depending on your flight profile, if you get, those of you that have played Kerbal Space Program, maybe you may have put too weak of an engine on an upper stage and had it actually fall back to space. So I don't know if it might be necessary even for the flight profile to have 3 sea level engines firing at the beginning of after stage separation. Once it gets low, then boop, once the weight drops down and the sea level and the vacuum optimized Raptors can handle it, they can turn them off and just run on the more efficient engines. So, all right, guys. Yeah, again, thank you to all you new members. I'm going to work on getting out of here so I can do that thing called sleeping, which would just be amazing right now, and eating and taking a break. So thank you. If you are someone that have supported what I do in the past, I hope that I'm making you guys proud, and I hope that we are making the studio better and better. And I promise you that in the future, this will be hopefully just a flawless system that all of you guys are excited to see on launch day. And we'll be getting more and more things to make this look better, sound better, run better. Yeah, we're still working on it. It's still a work in progress. This is basically our step 1 here. But again, huge thank you to everyone who made it possible. So, of course, that's all of you that did super chats. Hi, everybody that super chatted, and all of you that have been Patreon supporters and have shopped in the store. That makes it happen. Again, I know that you guys, everyone is supporting the spaceflight community, Lab Padre, NSF. That's awesome, because I promise you, I hope that everyone's taking it as seriously as we do here, of trying to up the game and up the ante constantly. Again, our goal is not to is not necessarily just to bring this up to you live, but also to preserve the history and to get people excited about what's going on right now, because it's important. This is history, and we're here to witness it and bring it to you guys. So thank you for allowing us that opportunity. You guys are awesome. That would be an awesome idea, Benjamin. I love that idea. And Zeta Wilson, you guys snuck in at the last moment. But that is going to do it for me. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to get some food. I'm going to get the crew tucked away and everything just settled. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Hopefully we have the best stream ever and the best weather and everything on Monday. And we see a beautiful flight and potential safe landing and recovery of Starship SN11 on Monday. We will be here for you guys, and hopefully more and more dialed in by then. So thank you for hanging out with us. Love you guys very much. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Goodbye, everybody.